I'm Dr. Karen Hiltz, and I want to welcome you to School Board Leadership the Right Way. We're going to be talking about Chapter 4, the School Board's Master Calendar, which can be found under Section 2, Board Governance. But before we get into discussing the chapter, there's a few things I'd like to mention. First of all, did you know that the use of calendars began during the Bronze Age in the ancient Near East, particularly in civilizations like the Sumerians, Babylonians, and Persians? Earliest known calendars date back to around 3100 BC. Some examples of their use include they tracked agriculture cycles, they marked religious events, observations, events, and holidays, and they followed the natural cycles like days, lunar phases or months, and the solar cycles. All of these were very relevant and important back in the ancient days, but they're also important today. So let's move forward. As I mentioned, I'm Dr. Karen Hiltz, and my colleague Laura Zork and I wrote School Board Leadership the Right Way. Laura is a former school board member in the state of Florida. She served 2 years as a member, and then her second 2 years out of her 4 year term, she was chair of her board. Laura is a very knowledgeable person when it comes to education because not only did she serve at the state level, but she's been active and involved at the local level rather, but she's been active and involved at the state level as well as the national level. So she is a very, very knowledgeable individual with regards to education. And I'm Dr. Karen Hiltz. As I mentioned, I served on a board in Virginia, and I also am a former professor of business in higher education, and I also had a career in federal procurement, meaning I wrote contracts for the federal government. So let's do a little bit of an introduction with regards to Chapter 4. We're going to address the use of the school board calendar. There are multiple calendars, but this particular chapter is going to focus on the school board calendar, which is relevant and pertinent, and the primary calendar for you. It will provide effective time management. And as I mentioned, it's a focal point for you as a school board member and for you being involved and efficient and effective in discussions and being a member, an elected member on and sitting on the dais. Now, the school board calendar is not only populated by school board members, but the superintendent and the clerk of the board also are involved with it as they may recommend things to put on there, which the school board may or may not approve. And the clerk is the one who manages or ensures that all the meetings and things that school board members need to be aware of is on the calendar. So before we dive into talking specifically about the calendar and some of the elements that should be on there, let's talk about some objectives. Board governance covers chapters 3, 4, 5, and 6. Again, we're going to be talking about 4 today. But some of the objectives of this section is one, to establish a framework for effective governance. Now, how do you do that? You do that by using tools like a calendar. You need to be organized. Organization and time management are very, very important to be an effective school board member. 2, you want to promote ethical decision making. You need information. You need relevant and pertinent information. And then you also need to do some research if you're going to be a effective decision maker. Now, your decisions will end up being a vote. And so therefore, it's very important that you promote ethical decision making with regards to the issues that you will encounter and situations. Number 3, enhance meeting effectiveness. If you are organized and you've done your research, your homework, you are much more likely to be an effective school board member, and that's what you want to promote is efficiency, effectiveness, um, ethical decision making. Those elements should be a focus of a school board member. You also want to build collaborative relationships, not only with your other board members, but also with your superintendent and other key players within your school district. The relationships will not always go your way. They will not always be positive, but one of the things that is your responsibility is to foster that collaborative environment, that collaborative relationship. And then you need to become familiar with parliamentary procedures. This is a way to structure your meetings to allow everyone to have a voice. Whether you're in the majority or the minority on your board, you, under parliamentary procedures, have a voice, and you are allowed and should expect to be for your voice to be heard on any issue. So let's dive into the school board's master calendar. Want to differentiate here between the board calendar and the district calendar. As I mentioned, the board calendar is for the school board. It operates on a continuous year because the board meets every month of every year at least once, or it should. And so, therefore, there are things that are going on with regards to every month. At least you will have a monthly business meeting. Many school districts also have a superintendent's workshop. There may be special meetings that are called because of pertinent issues or emergencies or things of that nature. So those must be on the calendar, but they must also adhere to, if you're calling a special meeting or an emergency, then you must adhere to the advertising or the publication or ensuring that the public is notified enough within enough time to be able to attend as and participate as well. The district calendar is tied to instructional time and staff, and that will have more of the things that the students and staff um, are involved in, or to make sure that staff is aware of the various events and activities that students are involved in so that they can choose to attend. So again, the board calendar is an annual calendar, and the district calendar is the fiscal year of instructional time, I'll say. Attending committee meetings. As a sitting school board member, there will be committees that you will participate in, that you will sit on, that you will observe. And it's important that these committee meetings are on the board calendar. Now, you may not be on every committee that is on the calendar, but at least it gives you an opportunity to attend a committee meeting for observation purposes. And it's it's a good idea, or it's a good practice, I'll say, to attend committee meetings even though you are not a sitting committee member. And a few reasons for this is that it gives you insight into what's going on within the district. You may be sitting on a capital committee, and you're not on the budget committee. So you may want to, I would recommend actually you attend the budget committee meeting, because you need to know what some of the discussion is going on or is occurring that fuels the creation, the development of that budget. It also makes you aware of processes. What are the processes? Every organization has processes to follow, so understanding the processes is important or key. It also informs you as to who is making recommendations and what types of recommendations will be coming down the road. Now, recommendations often come from administrators to the superintendent to the school board. That is a normal process. Sometimes Sometimes you'll hear about recommendations via other channels, but until a recommendation is made to the board, you do not need to act. But it is a good idea to understand who's making recommendations and when recommendations and what type of recommendations will be coming. So that's another reason to attend various committee meetings. And then, of course, it helps you connect with the various needs of the district, the various individuals that are on these committees and stuff, and build that working relationship, that rapport. Okay. So if you are not appointed to a committee, you by all means may attend as a citizen. School district activities. There will be school district activities that will be on the calendar. For example, graduation. And we'll go into some of these activities in a minute. But attending school events is a way for you to show or reflect or represent your interest in what's going on in the district, which you should have an interest in what's going on, but it makes the public aware that you are interested and involved when you show up. Okay. It shows students, teachers, and parents your concern, and it also builds trust. By attending events, it's a way to gain valuable insight for your decision making. You may have a conversation with a teacher, or you may have a conversation with a couple of parents who are attending an activity. They may bring an issue to you. So, this is a way to stay connected to your constituents and to be visible and to build that trust within your community, within your district. Okay. So being actively involved in school visits and community events doesn't merely show support. It is also very gratifying. I will share with you that during my tenure, this was one of the most rewarding things that I did was to visit schools and read to children, and to attend the activities. I attended as many as I could, as many as my personal life allowed or afforded me to do. Because remember, when you're serving on a school board, a calendar not only is good for you to make you aware of what's going on with the board, but you can schedule your personal time around that, or have the board calendar somewhat scheduled around your personal time, because you have to make time for your family and your personal life. So this is a way to make sure that you are organized and stay engaged with regards to attending things in the school district, but also being responsible and considerate of your family time as well. Oh, there are many important dates to remember, and the one that comes to mind first is graduation. That was one of the highlights of my tenure, was not only visiting schools and participating in activities, but watching the students walk and graduate. It's very gratifying and rewarding. But other things, certain dates to remember are the actual business meetings. Do you have your meetings on the first Monday of the month, or the second Wednesday of the month, or the first Tuesday? So there again, knowing when your business meetings and if you have work sessions are, you can set aside those dates, whether they be daytime or evening time, and know that there is that pattern that you will be tied up with school board responsibilities. The superintendent evaluation, when is it due? That is an annual responsibility, and it needs to be done in a timely manner, and so that needs to be on your calendar. Your contract renewal. Superintendents don't always have a year to year contract necessarily. They may have upfront a 2 year contract and then an annual for 3 years, or annual for one more year. It depends on how the contract is structured, but you need to know when that renewal date is and be prepared to discuss and either accept or reject, or renegotiate, I should say. Budget workshops. The budget isn't created in one day, so you need to be aware of when the workshops are going to be held, and you need to attend those, because you need to understand how the budget gets formulated, what is going into the budget, and is funding being allocated according to how it is um, distributed or allocated, I should say. Remember, Title I money or title money is for specific purposes, and we need to make sure that those title funds are going for exactly what they are intended to fund. What about legislative days, legislative session? When does your legislative session begin and end in your state? You should be involved or aware of, or at least research what legislation is being done, or proposed, I should say, and approved or signed in your state for that impacts education. There are health bills, bills dealing with health. There's bills dealing specifically with education. There's bills dealing with taxes for funding purposes. There's bills that cover a range of things that impact education. So be aware of your legislative cycle and know what bills are coming down the pike. Yeah, when is your district office closed? Most district offices are closed during in December for a period of time. Maybe at Thanksgiving, usually closed for Thanksgiving Day in particular, and maybe the day after, since Thanksgiving's on a Thursday. So be aware of the district office closures. Okay. When are your committee meetings? We already talked about that. Graduation, again, one of the highlights of serving on a school board. When is the first and last day of school? A lot of times, school board members will make an effort to go to as many schools, depending on how large your district is. Um, um, but go to as many schools within your district as you possibly can on the first day of school, and then to say welcome back, and just to promote the district, and then also on the last day of school to say well done, and have a good summer, et cetera, et cetera. So when's the first and last day of school? What about public hearings? You may have public hearings that you need to have on the calendar, and so you won't forget, and you'll attend them as you deem necessary. The board clerk's vacation days. The board clerk is a very important person for your board because they keep your schedule. They populate the calendar. So, when is your board clerk taking vacation days? And is there a substitute for that board clerk? A lot of school boards will have the clerk and then the vice clerk. And so, make sure that someone is there to manage the day-to-day necessities. And then the annual state um, required professional development completion dates. Many states, I don't know that all of them do, but many of the states require professional development, so many hours a year. And so you need to put your professional development dates on there so that your other board members are aware of your absence as well. Okay. And if you are taking, if you're going to be out of state or out of the country, I would also encourage you to make note of that, so that your superintendent, your board clerk, and your colleagues all know that you are going to be unavailable. So that's what I have to say with regards to the board calendar. Again, the focus is making sure that all relevant and pertinent dates are on the calendar, so that there is a consistency of information out there for the whole board, not just for you, but for the entire board. Okay. So this is the end of chapter 4. Chapter 5 is about meetings and agendas, and we'll talk about regular business meetings, the agenda, and other types of meetings that you may be involved in. So I ask you to please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Best in Ed. And there is where we will be posting our professional development posts. Again, there are 43 chapters in our school board leadership the right way. And all of our recordings will be posted on YouTube for you to review at your leisure. And again, I want to encourage you to get School Board Leadership the Right Way. It is a resource, it is not a book to read and then put on the shelf. It's not a story, it is a resource tool. It will help you as a reference tool to go back and review some of the information. Again, Laura Zork and I both served on school boards, and our contributors to this book are all school board members. We do not have superintendents that help to write this book. We did not have education experts help write this book. We are all former or currently seated school board members at both the local and state level. So I encourage you to get this book, School Board Leadership the Right Way. It will be a valuable resource for you. Thank you.